are teaching or trapping our learners. And I have two very interesting people to talk to about this. Ida Alote Brown and Priscilla J. Mensah are both here. I'll be talking to them about this shortly. But before we get into that, there's a very big event happening in the country. E-Learning Africa is here. And Dr. Mrs. Catherine Ejepoma Piapinkra is the development planner and focal person for Africa for E-Learning Africa. Their 19th International Conference and Exhibition on Digital Education, Training and Skills and Development is happening. It's happening. Dr. Apia Pinkra, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Thank you, Bernard.
It's great to have you. This is your first time here?
Yes.
It's good to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Amazing.
Thanks
stuff.
for having us.
Tell me about E-Learning Africa.
Thank you so much, and good morning to your listeners. I think you just said it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, E-Learning Africa, I would say, is the premier and the biggest international African conference and exhibition for education, skills development, and also training. It's been happening since 2005.
Okay.
And I must say that we are very, very excited because Ghana is hosting it for the second time.
Okay.
Ever since it started. It's been rotating through all African countries. And just a bit about the e-learning. I must say it's congregation and conference of big shots and the think tanks in the EDTECH space.
Okay.
And this one really is related to education. But it brings together politicians, that is the ministers, not only ministers from education, but from communication, even tourism, gender, and what have you. All right. And so, and then we also bring together policymakers.
All right.
We have curriculum development, we have exhibitors, and then we have those in the EdTech business, not only in Africa, but across the world, who, the EdTech businesses who come to pitch and draw partnerships and see how best we can improve our education sector within the African space. I always say that we find ourselves in the fourth industrial revolution era. Ghana is actually running behind the developing countries because they are in the fifth and sixth.
Charlie.
And education is no too mean an area when it comes to EdTech. Everything is digitized. And for the past decade, you see how things are evolving and changing to suit and make sure that we run a par with our peers.
So this is the 19th edition and the second time in Ghana. Yes. What are some of the success stories and best practice experiences that Ghana hopes to bring to bear on this continental conversation on education and technology?
That was a good question because, when everybody heard that it's coming to Ghana, everybody really wanted to come. It attracts about 1,005 delegates across the continent.
It's a big conference.
It's really exciting to have them. Ghana, we are positioned in a very critical point where almost everything education is digitized. We have success stories anytime you travel on platform. When we mount and talk about success stories, eyebrows are raised in admiration. For the past decade, Ghana had been, and if I say Ghana, I'm relating it to particularly the Ministry of Education. A lot of reforms had been taking place, and you are aware that even sectors, that were departments within the ministry are now agencies that had been established by Act of Parliament. They have their governing boards, and they all have policies that is governing them. And all of them, more or less, are tailoring their programs in EdTech manner. Ghana, as we speak, we have developed and implementing the ICT in education policy, which had been supported by our development partners. You did mention Jacobs Foundation and MasterCard Foundation, the UN family. They are all supporting us in doing this. Aside that, Ghana also, we've been partnering with the EdTech communities in some of our policies and programs that is out there. Recently, a young man develop a robot that serves in what they call it in restaurants. I don't know whether you heard about it.
Robot serving food in restaurants.
I tell you, we were all there.
I see.
The Ministry of Education was there. Ministry of Communication was there. So they want to use some of these things. How we can embed it in our curriculum so that children will learn how to do it. We have reformed the curriculum within the Ministry of Education, where robotics and AI has also been incorporated in our learning curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah, there are lots, but I think because of the time, yes.
Tell me what participants stand to gain from this conference. You said ministers are coming, policymakers, EdTech communities, there'll be exhibitions.
Yeah.
Just walk me through quickly what some of these people stand to gain from the conference.
So I'll start with the ministers. As part of the program, I didn't talk about the framework of the program. We're going to have the pre-conference session that will be followed by the opening, where the minister will be there. In fact, the vice president herself is coming. You remember she was with the Ministry of Education, and things like this is really dear to her heart. And Madam is coming. We have what we call the plenary sessions. We have the speaking time, where speakers, in fact, we have about over 200 speakers.
All right.
It's a heavily packed 3-day. And then we have the exhibition where these EdTechs are coming. We have the policymakers, as we said. Yeah. And then one interesting part is the bilateral meetings, where countries will put on table, and then these EdTechs will be moving around the table. This is where businesses are hitched, where the business also manage to get some business also with the government. And so with the politicians, with the ministerial roundtable discussion, it's a closed door meeting among the politicians, and they go beyond these political whatever, but they hitch partnerships. They see what their peers are doing, what they are doing right and wrong, and see how best they can learn best practices from each other, and see how we can take advantage of this African trade, what do you call it?
Exactly.
It's not only for goods. It's not only
services.
but for services.
Wonderful.
Yeah, a teacher from Ghana going to even work in Benin or Nigeria face a lot of restrictions and all that. So we are using this policy or protocol to also leverage for some of these. For exhibitors, that is why, as I said, people hitch a lot of businesses, funding. It's a marketplace. It's a market hub for exhibitors and for the EdTech companies. A lot of things happen. Let me tell you, this is happening in Africa. It has gone on since 2005. It doesn't go to Canada, Germany, where people will be rushing to go. But within Africa, people are rushing to come. It tells you what they come to gain
achieve.
when they come.
Finally, when is it happening? Where, and is it possible to register, or it's already registered?
Yes.
Just give me final details about
Right. It's happening next month, June, between the 3rd and the 5th at the Labadi Beach Hotel.
3rd to 5th June.
Yes.
Labadi Beach Hotel.
The if you go to the website, the what do you call it? The registration form is there that people can just hitch. Whether you are coming as an exhibitor or you want to even come and speak. Speaking now is gone, because we actually send call for proposals.
Speakers have been confirmed.
And let me put this on record. For the past 20 or 25 years, this had been happening. Ghana had gone on record for receiving more calls, for proposals within countries.
Wonderful.
We have more than 50. Others, you go and have 10, you have 12. Ghana, we've hit over 50.
Super.
So it tells you why Ghana was selected.
Amazing stuff. And you at E-Learning Africa are putting it together. It's the 19th conference and exhibition on digital education, training and skills development. And we've been speaking to development planner and the focal person for Africa, Dr. Mrs. Catherine Ejepoma Apia Pinkra. Your name is a full title. It's a full title. Doc, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Bernard, for having us.
Amazing stuff.
We'll be expecting you there.
Definitely.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure one of the things we'll talk about is screen time. And so here we're moving into that discussion next. I'll be speaking to. Today looks like a day for hyphenated names. So we just spoke to Dr. Apia Pinkra. We have Ida Alote Brown. Hello, Ida.
Hi, Bernard.
She's the head of Special Education Needs Mission Pediatrics, where she leads the special educational needs at Mission Pediatrics, driving inclusive education and equitable support. She's also an expert in special education, PR, and ESL, and facilitates essential collaboration between educators, healthcare providers, and families for student success. We also have Priscilla Ej Mensah, psychologist and lead counselor at Ryan International School, where she is a psychologist and international school counselor with nearly a decade of experience in mental health interventions, implementing evidence-based initiatives to support students' academic and emotional growth by combining psychological research with practical application. Now, this is a big topic, so I need to take a break. When I come back, they'll be telling us whether our kids are trapped or they are being taught by devices. Stay with us.
This is the City Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
In Ghana, planning ahead is something we grew up with. It's in the small things. Filling your barrels and buckets just in case the taps don't flow tomorrow. Parents buying school shoes 2 or 3 sizes too big so you can grow into them. Or wrapping your books carefully so that they can be passed down to the next child. It's how we've always looked out for the future. Quietly, thoughtfully, every day.
For 20 years, we've understood what Ghanaians have always known. Planning today secures tomorrow. It's the reason we provided life insurance solutions for every aspect of your future. Star Life didn't introduce planning ahead, we only made it better. Why? Because it's who you've always been. Star Life, your solid partner for life.
We are Star Life, your solid partner for life. Mekopena, American they sing. Mekopena, American she sing. Mekopena, Enaya Coco sing. Sakofa pepe powder, me pauja wo me shishi. 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 Shishi wrong. Shishi wrong. Abofa kiba bidwe, dunya sang kofa. Pepe soup where you know how to pepe sang kofa. Sang kofa pepe powder, shishi raw. Sang kofa pepe powder, me pauja wo me shishi. Sang kofa pepe powder, me pauja wo me shishi. 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 Me pauja wo. Sang kofa pepe powder. Oja wo.
FDA aji ejade nkrato yatum.
Hello, CEOs. Ghana's foremost business platform marks 10 years of leadership impact. Join the 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo on Thursday, 28th May 2026 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Kempinski Hotel Accra. The summit is themed Accelerating Ghana's Economic Transformation, driving bold reforms through leadership, technology, and industrialization. Tagline, From Vision to Action. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, will attend as special guest of honor and officially launch the CEO Government Compact 2026. Highlights include presidential CEO dialogue, masterclasses, panels, brand expo, CEO profiles, networking. Registered now at GhanaCEOSummit.com. Call 054-639-1970 or email info@GhanaCEOSummit.com. Powered by CEO Network Ghana in partnership with Deloitte, PwC, EY, GIPC, University of Ghana, Media General, and the Multimedia Group. The 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo, a decade of leadership impact. T&C supply.
Join the conversation on the City Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag CityCBS.
Unleashing the power of relevant radio. This is City 97.3.
All right, so back on EdTech Monday, this platform created for EdTech entrepreneurs, educationists, and stakeholders to look at the use of technology for teaching and learning. We've come to a point where there's a concern about the introduction of digital tools to our children. And nearly 40% of children aged 8 to 12 globally are using social media despite minimum age thresholds, raising urgent concerns about early exposure during critical development stages. So we want to talk about safe and measured use of technology to prepare young people for the future of work without losing their attention, social skills, and mental health to screen addiction. Ladies, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bernard.
I'm sure in your line of work, you've seen kids, and I'm sure in your families, navigate a smartphone even before they can talk properly, right? They are able to swipe, they're able to expand. Should we be worried about that? Is that should we be happy that kids can do it, or we should be worried and fasting?
So lots of times people get amazed at what the kids can do with technology, especially with the smartphones. It's something that the kids are able to manipulate to an extent that we adults, we aren't able to do that in any way. However, they working solely on the smartphones or using smartphones for every single thing throughout the whole day, that is where the concern should be. Technology is here to help us, but that doesn't also mean that we should neglect what we are supposed to also be doing to support them as kids. So let's say a child is overly exposed to screen and the child keeps using screen throughout the day. How well is the child able to interact with the next person seated by that child? How well is the child able to communicate? How well is the child able to learn certain adaptive skills that is needed to support that child? And then we'd also come to think about the child's physical strength. How well is the child able to also learn how to walk around, do things that they are supposed to be doing at their regular ages? All these things are very, very concerning. So leaving technology or phones and gadgets to our kids without control, without measure, that is something that we should be concerned about.
Your opening remarks, Priscilla.
Yes, so thank you, Bernard, for having me, and good morning to all your viewers and listeners. So the concept of screen time for young people, it has become a conversation that parents and educators should be focusing on. And as you mentioned earlier, having kids under 5-year-olds being able to answer calls and decline calls and turn on YouTube to their favorite shows or even play video games can seem to be something that is quite fascinating. But at the same time, the questions we should be asking is, what is this replacing? And even if you decide to look at the science of this, kids between 0 and 3-year-olds have their brains developing at a very, very rapid rate. And studies even show that they're making more than 1 million neural connections every single second. And if you want to even grasp the concept of what that looks like, it's fantastic, it's phenomenal. So ask yourself, if you have a child under 5-year-olds, every single day they're building the basic architecture of how their brain is going to function for life. So what do you want your child to be exposed to at that moment? You should be thinking about building things like human interaction, building eye contact, building social negotiation skills, being able to navigate complex conversations, looking at even just understanding the world around them and not just being focused on the screens and looking at what is just being exposed and fed to them. And you want to be able to help your children build secure attachment styles and emotional regulation. I know for a lot of parents in this era, we use screens as a way to soothe our children. If they're misbehaving or if they're crying and you're just a bit tired about trying to help them manage their emotions, the first thing you see a parent do is just put on a video and then give the phones to their children. And what you're doing is the very first interactions your child has to the screen has become a way of soothing instead of it being a tool as a means to an end, maybe for educational purposes or for learning something like maybe language development. So we really need to kind of go back to the concept of why are we giving screens to our children, or what's the purpose behind it? And even things like dopamine, when we look at the concept of addiction, there are certain things that happen to the brain that builds tolerance to certain stimulus. And with constant screen use, what you realize is that the kids gradually adapt to the level of tolerance for screens and stimuli. So before you realize it, taking the phones or the screens from them starts to build negative habits such as crying or throwing tantrums or just becoming overly aggressive, because at this point their brain has associated the screen as something that has become a need and no longer a choice. And we don't want our children to get to that point. So I think that's why having this conversation is very important.
Before we get into how to deal with addiction or what an addiction is, since you brought the dopamine point, what is there an ideal age for you to introduce a child to screens?
Well, the World Health Organization tells us that children under 2 years should not be exposed to screens. And if you have kids between 3 to 5 years, even with the introduction, it should be less than an hour, and it should be focused on more educative content.
So let's repeat that. Below to no.
Below to no screens.
3 to 5.
3 to 5 screens under an hour.
Do you agree, Ida?
Yes, I do agree. And what I would like to add to that is that currently in the world, several things keeps changing. And quite recently, the American Academy of Pediatricians or Pediatrics has come up with something new. And for them, they are saying that from 0 to 18 months, that's a point where kids may, but even with a may, you may be allowed to use having a video conferencing with you, with a child, not leaving the child to the screen like that. But then from 0 to 18 months, you can have that video conferencing. And even with that, it is for a short period of time. Not with you've left the thing on and then the child gets to interact with the screen like that. It's a no. And also from 2 to 5 years old also, they may be allowed to have a limit of 1 hour per day. And even with that, you should have high quality programs. And that's where you need to co-view with a child. It is not you leaving it for the child. So let's say I have a baby and then the baby is with me and then I give that device or I turn the TV on and leave the child to have an interaction with it. No. I'm rather supposed to have a co-viewing. I'm supposed to be with the child. I'm supposed to ask the questions. Remember when Priscilla was talking, she was mentioning having to help the child learn to develop certain skills, certain communicative skills, certain adaptive skills. And that's why the focus also goes more on high quality programs. So it's not about just any single thing that we leave on for our kids to watch. It's not about just giving them the devices. It's not about just turning things on because we would like to have that few minutes of respite, but making sure that whatever the kids watch or whatever they are interacting with, we are able to have a link. It should be something that they can relate to it in real life. It should be something that we can help them understand that whatever they are viewing, this is how it relates to real life. This is how it does this. This is how it does that. Because technology can be used to help them, and it can be used to improve on a lot of things.
Priscilla mentioned dopamine and spoke about the brain associating the screen with that chemical, and therefore it becomes seen as a need. So technically she's defined an addiction. All right. But I want you to talk a bit about that before I come back to her. How do you know if a child is getting addicted or has become addicted to the screen?
So then that is where you tend to see certain things in terms of irritability. Let's say you decide to take the screen away from the child. How does the child behave, or how does the child react? What's the first thing that the child does? Throwing tantrums, shouting here and there. There are even times when the behavior becomes overly excessive. You tend to see children behaving in certain ways that you would never have imagined that to be. There are even times where the child is unable to sleep. Rest that is very vital to help the child's brain is not one that the child is getting. You take away screen, and then the next thing that happens is that the child has lost interest in everything. do this, I'm just there. Do that, I am just there. There is nothing that you would even do or say that would encourage that individual to move, to do something. These are things that we should be careful about when we see our kids being engaged in or doing or showing us or exhibiting these traits to us. It's something that we need to be very, very cautious of. Aside that, there are times where they emotionally, they are not able to regulate themselves. They aren't, because you remember when Priscilla was earlier talking, she mentioned about how the brain tends to function and how they tend to develop. A child's brain is not fully functional, and a brain actually would tend to develop in the mid-20s to their 30s. So looking at how long it would take for a brain to function and become fully developed, then you come to give a child a screen and fully leave it for that individual to manipulate. That addiction then comes in, and that is where you tend to see them having even difficulties in paying attention to things that they would normally have been able to do. They can't focus on anything. They are here, they are there, they are running around, jumping around, and sometimes it even comes in some compulsive behaviors and things that they tend to exhibit. These are all things that we need to be careful about, and I know that Priscilla may add on to it also.
We're talking the screen addiction, whether tech devices are teaching or trapping our learners. Our guest, Priscilla J. Mensah, psychologist, lead counselor, RN International School, Idalote Brown, who is the head of Special Education Needs Mission Pediatrics. So you've given the scientific definition and some behavioral tendencies as well. How do you deal with addiction? So let's assume a listener realizes that, actually, it looks like my daughter or my son is actually addicted to the screen. How do you go about? What do you do?
So definitely a conversation has to be had, because before you even determine if your child is addicted, as Ida mentioned, what are the behavioral cues you're noticing as a parent? So from restlessness to not being able to regulate their emotions, ask yourself, what exactly are you seeing? And that can help you try to figure out why your child has used screens as a coping mechanism or as a need to satiate something. Is it loneliness? Is it stress? Is it social anxiety?
Is it neglect?
Is it neglect? Because those are very important things that sometimes we overlook, and then we start to think that the screen addiction is the problem. Meanwhile, that is just a symptom of the problem.
So there could be deeper issues.
Things. Exactly. And then sometimes what you can now do is, if you identify what the actual issues are, most of the time it's things around boredom. And as parents, we almost want to fix things. It's like when you even see your child say they're bored, you want to try and put something in there.
It's okay to be bored.
But boredom is
doesn't kill.
so important for a child's development, because that's where things like creativity pops up. That's where a child is able to kind of consolidate all their memories, all the interactions they've had, and do some serious reflection. And that's where a child really builds who they are and their identity. So when a child is bored, this is an opportunity for them to even start to think of, what can I do in my time? Creativity pops in. How do I manage difficult situations? Maybe they had an argument or a fight with a friend, and this is the time they sit to really go over the train of events and just like ask reflective questions. Or what can they do to be able to manage their emotions? So when you give them a device, what you're doing is you're taking away that constructive time for them to be able to have those pockets of reflection and growth. And then gradually they are not able to regulate because they've never been taught. Every time they're bored, there's something that fills in the boredom. So that can be a big challenge that parents have. So one thing you can do is start to really think of, what are non-screen activities or interests my child can take up that can take them away from using the screens. And I always say, it's not as if screens are a bad thing. Mind you, it's very, very beneficial to learning experiences, to faster ways of doing things, and even just exposing a child to things that they may not even see in their surroundings. But the issue now is, how are we regulating this? And as parents, what kind of boundaries are we setting? What kind of structure are we putting in place? And I like the fact that you talked about having a device at home where your kids would use for their homework, but they're not used to, they don't have.
There's actually a question on that I want to bring, but let me announce, if you have a question listening to us, send us a WhatsApp on 053-998-6996. The number again, 053-998-6996. This morning we're talking about screen addiction. How do you identify it? How do you stop it or regulate it or get a child to manage it? Some people have the drastic measure, no phones ever. Or we are seizing all phones for 1 month. Detoxification. Some people prefer the gradual. I don't know which one works either. But then I come to place. How do you, if let's assume you realize that your child is too into this thing, right? And do you treat it like the way you treat substance abuse? So you say, we're going to deny you of it. You can shout all you want to shout. You ain't going to get it. So or what do you do?
With that, it's not a one-size-fits-all.
All right.
It can never be so. Rather, it's dependent on what each family would like to do and how they would want to go about it. With some people, and always, as parents, usually when these things come up, in finding ways to resolve an issue, yes, I am the head, so then I am dictating that this and this and this and this is what is going to happen. That's it. No one has a say.
Okay.
We plead with parents, please.
It doesn't always work like that.
It doesn't work like that. It doesn't at all. Our kids also have their brains functioning. Okay. Remember, we talked about helping them get to learn how to regulate themselves, work through things and all that. Why don't you have a discussion with them? Why don't you all sit down? Then everyone tends to share ideas. Let them even tell you where they feel they are faltering. You may be surprised at some of the responses they would give you. Other times they may find very nice ways of trying to go around the situation or the issue for you to get them to allow them that space to work in. But interact with them, share ideas, talk to them, and then you guys make a decision. For some, it may be the drastic one. No phones for this number of months or days or whichever one you guys decide on. And then for others also, it is regulated. Okay. So for some people, they tend to have it. So this is our common area. We're going to place this here. And this is where if anyone needs to watch something, do something, you have this number of time for this. And other times also, some parents give their tablets to their kids, but there are these restrictions and limits on it. Of what the kids know that, okay, so I can work for 15 minutes. How well am I going to use that my 15 minutes? And it's not left or it's not given to the child to take to the room where the child is going to do what you as a parent have no idea what the child is doing. But rather put it in a space where everybody gets to see. And it's a way of regulating them, helping them get to learn what is right from wrong.
I'll corroborate what you said. So I initially had tablets for my kids and I decided I wasn't going to connect the tablet. So I bought a desktop, which is in the living room for everybody to see. So, and it's shared. All of us use that desktop because I think I heard somebody said about that if you, I don't want to personalize the device. This is my device. No. The tablet is for all of us and it is for homework.
That's it.
Sorry, the desktop is for all of us for homework. I think that helps as well. But anything else to add? Because now they do homework. The other challenge. So the ones in higher, in fact, not even higher primary. Yeah, higher primary too. They do homework on the thing. So sometimes I don't know whether they are doing homework. Or there was a time they were preparing for some exam and every day they said we were doing something. So how does the parent know whether it's homework? And is it every homework that we should allow them to use that thing to do?
Right. So I think it's a challenge because kids are smart and they learn to find loopholes in every situation or structure that you provide for them. So just to buttress what Ida mentioned, deciding to go cold turkey with your kids and taking the device can be problematic if not done right. And it's just like an addiction. You would have the withdrawal symptoms and maybe you as a parent may not necessarily even have the structure to support your child. So you don't just take the device away and not have any means they can explore healthier coping mechanisms. That's when it becomes a problem. So we always say that for parents who may be struggling with things like this, don't do it alone. Speak to a specialist. Have conversations on what are the tools I can use as my child is going through this recovery process. Because the thing is, the brain is a very fantastic organ. If you want to change a character, science says that within 21 days, you're able to develop new characters if you follow through consistently. So it's possible to reverse an addiction, but you have to go in a structured way. You have to provide tools. You have to allow your child explore healthier alternatives that can take their time in a productive way. And then gradually you infuse the devices as a tool for improving their experiences and not as something that they use to just entertain themselves in the long run.
I do with special needs children. So if a child has ADHD or what is called focus issues, right? Is a screen helpful in their situation?
So I'm going to answer this using some experiences that I've had personally. I have worked with some of my kids who were unable to use devices because of attention issues. And with some of them, they would have to come in to the clinic and then we work together. And then there are also times where that doesn't mean that during my session I do not use technology. I do use technology because it's a way of also helping them get to learn other things. And we are in a global world. Something that they may be struggling with doesn't necessarily mean that the world would be at a standstill waiting for them to recover or be able to improve before they are able to do this or do that. Kids who have ADHD, or let's say in general, people who have issues with attention, they are unable to function properly and all that. That is somewhere in the part of the brain that deals with the executive functioning, and they are unable to regulate themselves and know that, okay, so I'm not supposed to be able to do this, I'm supposed to self-regulate, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that. That is where the child has an issue or has challenges. Someone who has an issue with attention can be taught and we can use technology to help that child. However, as we've all mentioned earlier, it is crucial that we help them learn to regulate these things, especially at the beginning, because there are times when they do not know when to do what. That part of the brain is not well developed, so they would have issues with what time am I supposed to do this? What time am I supposed to do that? And that's where we need to put them on a schedule. So you put your child on a schedule, you know that at this point in time, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that.
So there's no boredom?
No. And putting them on that schedule helps them to actually know that, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to do. And usually those visual schedules and things are one key way of helping them know. So you don't just put up a schedule and it is in your head, it is in someone's head. Let them see it.
Visualize it.
Let them visualize it. Let them see that, okay, so at this point in time, I'm supposed to move here. I'm supposed to transition from this particular activity to that particular activity. At school, our educators know what to do. They are able to help them know because they know that this child has issues with attention. However, at home, we have all these things that we can do. So let's say you decide that you are regulating it in this way. Let them have things they can see. Let them work through the educational apps or things that they are working with in a way that it would tell them that from this point, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. And those structured ways of doing things are one of the best ways to support.
Let me read
learners.
a few comments for you. We're talking to two of our friends as part of EdTech Monday, which is a discussion today on screen addiction, whether tech devices are teaching or trapping our learners. Good morning, Bernard. My child always comes for my phone to do her homework because their work is research. How do I manage this? Christian Ameko from Boom. Every day research on my phone.
Let me answer that.
Yeah.
So when you have a child engaging with a device academically, there are some signs you would see. If, let's say, taking this as an example, the child is doing research. The brain is like thinking, evaluating. Some of the things you might see is, as the child is working, they're not necessarily consumed by the device. Because, I mean, work in itself is not necessarily a fun experience. So you might see that they might lift up their heads, they might stretch for a bit, they might ask you questions, or they might even open a book to kind of engage. So when you see that, you can actively tell that your child is engaging and learning. But on the other hand, when they're escaping, what you notice is that they're so glued to their device. Because what happens is that they're consuming information. So for instance, your child is on TikTok or they're watching a video on YouTube. There's this part of the brain that activates where they're just constantly consuming the information. So they almost get into a trance-like state. And that is where parents would normally say, I've called my child 3 times and they didn't hear me. That's because they're so engrossed.
So you can tell?
You can tell.
Okay, here's another. Good morning, Bernard. I have a cousin who, in SHS 3 whose mother isn't with her. She's having trouble doing her assignments and needs a phone. But there's no one around to monitor her. What should I do? Can I repeat the question? So SHS 3, mother isn't with her. having trouble doing assignments and needs a phone. This person, who's probably an uncle or father or whatever, wants to give the phone, but is not sure if giving a phone to a SHS3 person with no parent around is a good idea.
So there are definitely apps that would help you regulate or monitor things.
Okay.
I know there's a child of mine that I work with currently whose mom would restrict it to an extent that it would go off. Everything would be blank. The child can't see anything. You can't operate the device. It just goes off till the parent
allows
it
or enables it
for the child to be able to work. So in such a circumstance, you can get these apps, make sure those ones work, test it out, ensure that everything is working the way it's supposed to work before you hand over that device to the child.
And just to add to what she said, you also need to have a conversation with their children, because I think what happens is that as parents, we're so strict on restrictions without sitting our kids down to have conversations and to help them understand why they need to have these restrictions. Let me give an example. Would you allow your child to cross a high street just because they know how to walk?
No.
Because you understand the dangers involved. And it's the same thing with using devices. It's essential for them, but they need to understand the dangers so that when they're alone, they can make informed choices.
Thank you very much indeed. Priscilla J. Mensah, psychologist and lead counselor, RN International School, and Dr. Ida Alote Brown, head of special needs mission pediatrics. We've been speaking to them as part of EdTech Mondays, which are brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and the Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. We have another exciting edition in the month of June. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. And that's all we have time for today's edition of the City Breakfast Show. My name is Bernard Avile. We'll be back tomorrow. City News at 10 is next. Shiba Beni is here with the bulletin. Good morning, Shiba.
Good morning, Bernard. Coming up in the headlines, President Mahama assures of launching the Women's Development